Queen t-shirt on today.
Good for you. You should bring that up.
I'm gonna go see.
Was it a free shirt?
No, I had to buy it for a some photos.
Oh, okay.
Stupid stuff.
All right.
We can talk about that too.
Let's do that for sure, because I'm going to acknowledge that.
So where are we at? We're at 30, okay.
Yeah. All right. Ready?
Yep.
Welcome to Middles Open. I am Michael Morris. Sitting to my right of me, Doug Risher. Doug, how are you?
I am doing good today, Michael. How are you?
I'm good. And we're going to talk about legalized sports gambling. And the reason why is I'm betting that Dave doesn't show up. No call, no show, no email.
I mean, he might be still setting up the Pastor Fight series right now as we speak.
I think he should really get into that, and I kind of feel like you should have trademarked that a couple weeks ago before we started this.
I think there's some money involved in the Pastor Fight series.
Maybe that's why he's not here. He'd rather make money than talk to us.
I mean, come on, who wouldn't?
Yeah. Well, I want to get into this topic with you because in the past, we've known each other for a few years.
Right.
But I am about the cheapest person on the planet and don't like to lose money. And when I see that Major League Baseball announced with the MGM that they are going to have a sports gambling partnership. And even before that, the FanDuel and DraftKings of the world, every time I see that, it made me nervous because I'm like, I don't want to spend $50 on anything, let alone possibly lose it.
Losing my money altogether.
Yeah. But you told me before we started that you might have a little bit of a story.
I have a rich history when it comes to gambling.
Yeah, I kind of felt bad because I kind of felt like we were going to talk about alcohol sales, and I was with an alcoholic because your face kind of lit up.
No, so this has happened years ago. I used to have a little bit of, let's say, a gambling problem. I'm gonna tell the story, so hopefully any of you listening don't follow my path down the lane. So back when I was like 20 years old, a woman rear-ended me, and I got really injured. So I got a settlement, but it took a while to get the money back. But back then, I was experimenting. I lived in New England, and we would go to Foxwoods and go gambling. And I was a waiter still. I was in college back then, and we would just take whatever we earned that night and go gamble. And then, they would give you some free drinks, and then the next thing I'd be out of money. And I'd be like, well, I got that money from that settlement. Let's pull money out. And let's just say 6 months later, I lost about $22,000. So to this day, I still do not gamble. I don't even play the lotto or scratch tickets. A guy that works here, Jim Thomas, though, does buy me a scratch ticket for my birthday every year. So I guess I kind of break the rules for that.
But yeah, but you didn't pay for it.
True, I didn't pay for it. So I will gamble if it's free. Give it to me. So just remember that, Rachel.
Well, the reason I thought this was an effective topic was, and again, Dave's not here, and God bless him for not showing up, but he will post things on Facebook about fantasy football left and right, and yet he's a pastor. That's still gambling.
Is he allowed to do that?
I don't know that much about it. You're the one setting up the Pastor Fight.
What about the PGS, the Pastor Gambling Series? You just have pastors.
If you're just going to give away free ideas on the show constantly,
I gotta write that down.
I feel like someone's going to be wearing a T-shirt that says this, and you're going to feel like you missed out.
You just have a bunch of pastors and rabbis playing poker on TV.
I'm going to venture one of those groups is not going to spend as much.
Are they allowed to bluff?
I think that's another thing.
Yeah, I don't think they're allowed to bluff, right? Because they can't lie.
First of all, we're going to have to do some accounting on Dave's church, but one of the things that I was
laundering money through the church.
Well, I think that this is funny because you brought this up about Foxwoods. When I'm watching any Celtic game or any New England base, that for my entire life, Foxwoods always looks like the place. It's like adult Disney.
Yeah, it's huge.
But they're allowed to; those places are allowed to buy advertising in sporting events, but they were never tied together. And now, Major League Baseball has it. The NBA, the WNBA, I don't even know why. The NHL.
What is that?
The WNBA, it's what they put on during the summer when there's no basketball and they want people to say, you don't have to watch basketball
this summer. The one with the woman.
Yeah, it's your deterrent to staying indoors at night, I guess. But all of those groups have partnered with the MGM.
Right. MGM Resort. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? What do you think?
Well, here's the way.
There's a lot of different perspectives, I think.
I'm going to tell you the thing that everyone's going to bring up is when I think about Pete Rose's in the Hall of Fame for gambling, yet now everybody's in bed with gambling resorts. To me, it is, do you get to undo all of that stuff? Do you
Pete Rose stuff?
Yeah.
I think
because players are not allowed to gamble on their own team, but they are allowed to gamble on other teams.
You sure? Or I thought it was they're not allowed to gamble on that sport. Like if they're a football player, you can't gamble on the NFL.
You're correct.
So you can gamble MLB or NBA.
But who's monitoring that?
Yeah, I don't know how they would know if you did or not. couldn't you just have a buddy place a bet for you?
That's what Pete Rose did.
If
Well,
this
he
all
also was
goes
calling in from the bullpen phone. He was calling in some, I want to lay some
Right.
on some horses and all that.
I say if they go with this, they got to let him out of all that nonsense back in the day. It's been long enough.
Well, that's like the whole free college thing to me. If you're going to get free college today, everyone that paid for college better get their
They're
money
get
back.
a refund.
Yeah.
Well, that ain't happening. That's for sure.
No, but that's the same thing with Pete Rose. If you're not going to let him in the Hall of Fame, how are you as an organization going to take this money?
Well, I think eventually they would have to let him into the Hall of Fame at that point.
I agree, but what I'm saying is when I'm looking at if you're letting these organizations be a part of your, like DraftKings and all, the NFL owns a stake in DraftKings.
Right.
So you're telling me you want legalized wagering to happen, but our players don't do it. That is nonsense.
Well, because they don't want them to try to throw the game. So what I was reading is that they're worried about people getting so in debt with the gambling, like I did back in the day, that they will be willing to throw games in the favor of making up the debts. Correct?
Well, wait, but UFC has always been involved with Las Vegas. Do you think that they throw fights? I believe that boxing does.
I believe that stuff is happening left and right, whether that it's as visible as boxing was, but I don't think it's rampant. But I believe stuff does happen, especially with UFC. It is very in bed with Vegas and the gambling scene. It's money, and when there's money to be made, people do shady stuff. With this happening, I can see there's so much money. What was I reading? That something you passed on to me. It was like $4.2 billion from gambling could be a
Per
boost
year.
Per year.
Per year.
That's so much money. So when you're tossing numbers like that around, anything is literally possible. I don't know. I think in this day and age, weed is becoming legal in a lot of places. It's a free country. I don't know how you can regulate stuff like that when it's legal somewhere in Las Vegas. It's just let the people do what they want. I don't care what they do, as long as they try to keep the sports pure. Because once that happens, it becomes entertainment, not sports. Once things are rigged, like I'm gonna say you're wrestling. Do you gamble on your wrestling?
It's sports entertainment.
Exactly.
Don't call wrestling
Entertainment.
sports
entertainment. Because the outcomes are determined
What?
beforehand.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know where you would get any of that information.
Or are you betting on that?
Yes,
You are?
listen. For 20,
I would like to play some bets with you, though.
For 21 straight years, I bet the Undertaker would win at WrestleMania, and I was right. I was only wrong one time, and that was it was a miracle.
Yeah, and I can't believe that guy's still alive.
Still alive.
Yeah.
He's the dead man.
True.
He will never die.
I guess he'll never be alive if he's the dead man. So
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about. When
So
it
your
comes to
point has
wrestling.
been yes, you do.
Wrestling
Closet
entertainment.
watcher.
I don't watch it.
But I understand what you're
Watch it
saying
for the
about
women.
the entertainment part of it. But this is the scenario. Let's say Tom Brady needs money because I don't think
He
he's
doesn't
made a
need-
lot.
Because his wife is short on cash too.
Okay, so
She makes more than he does.
They are middle of the pack in terms of making money.
Right.
But if the Patriots are covering the spread, does he say, "Well, I don't want to move the ball that much. Let's just run it. Do I change plays?" That's where I think you get not so much the NFL. I'm teasing about Tom Brady because
Right.
you're a New England guy. But what about colleges?
Well, that's why they're not allowed to bet on the sports that they're playing in, because they can't factor in and determine the outcome of the game. If Tom Brady can't affect the NBA or the MLB, but if they're allowing the players that play the sport to bet on the sport that they actually play in, it doesn't
But
make
you
sense.
just said it's a free country, so they should be able to do whatever they want.
With certain
Canadian.
stipulations. Don't do as I did. Do as I say. No, I don't know. But I think, honestly, like you said, NFL players shouldn't be allowed to bet on NFL games. There's just too much risk involved of throwing games.
I just think that
Like probably your softball.
we don't throw games in softball.
Oh.
I mean, the fall
You
of the legends. I mean, with one or two losses, sure, we earn those defeats, but we would never throw a game.
That's good to know. That's good to know.
And I think we haven't
Your
talked enough
character has
about
been
that.
restored.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm going to bring the trophy in here just to record a show
We
with
should
it.
have it like right here so that they can see it on.
I'm going to get a
on
Flavor
Facebook.
Flav type chain with it
Ooh.
on there.
You don't already have that? You should get those made for all your teammates.
I want to wear it when we have a special guest, so the entire time they go, "Why are you wearing that?"
Side note, speaking of guests, I saw Roy Hall last Friday, and he grew in size. since the last time we saw. I was like, I think he ate another Roy Hall.
The guy is 290 pounds and 2% body fat since the time he left here.
He got taller and thicker. Did that sound right? Okay, but
that sounds wrong.
Muscular
for a Sunday morning,
yes.
Yeah.
Amen.
You know, I wish we could talk to somebody like that and ask his opinion on, like,
sports gambling.
Well, because I'm sure that he's had to deal with that. Not somebody's come up and told him to throw a game, but when you get to the NFL and you've got all this money, people that's their play money, right?
Yeah.
So if when Mayweather bets on the Super Bowl, or like these guys that have a ton of money and they're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it doesn't matter to them.
Yeah, it's like pocket change.
But it's also affecting the line.
Yeah, affects it for everybody else down the way. Yeah.
But I think it's ruining sports. I don't care what people do. I think if these guys want to smoke weed, if they want to gamble, I don't care about that.
I think purge night should be allowed.
I totally agree with that.
I'm down with that. Purge
I have
night,
a mask.
One night.
I'm waiting to use
I have a bat
it.
with nails in it, so
Yeah.
I'm ready to go.
But when I think about like how boxing was, and for years you had these dominant fighters that you would pay to watch, and now it's not really about that. Can I bet on it? Does that add to it?
Yes, because people are always looking for a way to make a quick buck. It makes it more exciting to watch the event as well, and that's what these the NFL or the NBA, they're looking for, because it's another way to generate people watching their sports and their games. Because if you have something invested into it, why wouldn't you watch it?
Well, the number one reason that proves this out is fantasy football. Are you going to watch Jacksonville and Tampa Bay on Sunday?
Because definitely.
Because you probably got a couple players in that game.
Definitely.
Otherwise, you don't.
You wouldn't care about that game. So, just like that's why people watch wrestling. Because I don't know where I'm going with that.
You were going to say because it's the sport of kings.
Sport of kings.
And I think it's a valid point, but one of the things I was going back to is, remember when Ronda Rousey fought Holly Holm?
Yes.
And everybody thought Ronda's just going to blow through everybody.
Her. She's going to armbar her. Yeah.
And I don't gamble. I just wanted to see who's favored. And when I see Ronda's not favored, I'm like, how do you know sportsbook? Or they were giving the line like Ronda was getting like plus 200, which I don't really understand what that was, but I just knew that Holm was favored. And they were right.
They were right, because Holly kind of figured out her game plan. But yeah, no, it with the whole with the MMA, that's a hard one. I don't understand quite how they decide who's favored. You would think Ronda going into that fight would be heavily favored, since she was undefeated up to that point. But I just think that no matter when there's a chance for somebody that has a lot of money to make more money, they're going to find loopholes and then find ways to make it eventually legal. It was just legal in Vegas?
Yeah.
And now there's what other states? I saw some other states here.
Well, there's 7 right now that just reversed that. I think there's 13 overall.
Yeah, right here. So it's Jersey, Mississippi, West Virginia, Arkansas, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and now Rhode Island. So it could really create a lot of new possibilities. But I don't know if it's going to be beneficial. I just think if they can somehow monitor it and make sure that the players in that league do not gamble on the games themselves, it makes it fair to everybody else, right?
We would hope so, but then take the other person, which is you, the one that's gambling on it, that's playing DraftKings and all that other stuff. You're putting real money on the line,
right?
And that's not your full-time job. Like when you see those commercials, I can't remember what it is, but less than 2% of people actually win money, big money, every single week. But that's all they do.
It's like a full-time job.
Right.
You have to be paying so much attention and watching every game and analyzing it, but I don't think it's going to hurt anything if they kind of monitor how it's done. I'm very curious to see. I just know there's a lot of money involved, and that's going to probably green flag it,
Well, the reason why is I don't have to worry about TV ratings from advertisers. I don't have to worry about renewals, Pepsi, Coke, or whatever it might be in stadiums. That's free money that the league is getting.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not, that's on top of the revenue they're already generating.
Cash over fist. Yeah, it's literally, when you're talking in the billions per year, that's definitely getting some people's attention. So who are the people benefiting from this? The people that own the teams?
The owners and the league in general.
Okay.
So, for instance, if you are Jerry Jones, let's say, with the Cowboys.
Right.
You're directly benefiting because he's not only an owner, but he's kind of like on the board for the
right,
NFL.
For the NFL.
So he has to be a part of that. But Roger Goodell at the top also gets there are It's like any sales job. There are incentive clauses if you hit certain numbers. Where it's not helping is it's not taking seat prices down, right? So
Right.
I'm still going to, if you're paying $80 to see the Bengals, and why would you? But that seat ticket's not ever going down, right? So owners are going to make more money. It doesn't get kicked down to the players because there's a salary cap.
Right.
It's only the people at the top. It's the 1% argument.
Unless they're the ones gambling themselves, which they're
Right.
not going to be allowed to, according to what I've seen as of now.
You have to get caught, though. Pete Rose got caught. And
How
it took
did they
a long-
get caught? That's what that's
Well,
my
Pete
question.
Rose got caught because he was letting a guy that was a steroid dealer place some of his bets, and he was carrying around duffel bags of cash.
Right.
Which is why you don't see duffel bags anymore. You see those little fanny packs,
Yeah.
and then people just have credit cards.
Yeah, it's just bank cards.
Yeah.
Prepaid Visa cards.
But
That's how
you
they do
can't
it.
deal steroids and drugs and all that and place bets for the all-time hit king.
How do you get that job?
Hang out in the gym that Pete Rose owned. That's how he got that job.
Okay. I did not know that.
Yeah.
See, I learn something new every day.
This is why we have these shows. It's just so I can educate
Pass
you.
along information.
Yeah.
You learn something about me, about my old gambling problem.
Yeah.
Which I don't have anymore. I don't even have the urge to gamble most of the time. But I just let it pass out my brain. So if you have a gambling problem, just know that you can quit too.
But don't you get some kind of a kick when you see these commercials? Like, don't you go, oh, it would be fun to go to the casino?
Well, back in the day, it was tough to get. You literally had to go to the casino to gamble. You know, now it's so accessible with the online and all this different ways of gambling. And I'm glad I'm past all that because I don't like you, losing money. It's just like throwing money away, unless, especially at the casinos, because I'm not some professional gambler. Hence why I lost $22,000.
But you know what? I'm going to give you credit.
A life lesson.
That was an amazing amount of money to lose for a
Yes.
guy like you.
Especially at 21, I think I was.
Yeah.
So
I hope your
Yeah.
parents are listening right now.
my mother, still to this day, like every holiday, she makes fun of me about that. So it's, I learned a lesson from it. So
Explains why you
hopefully
moved so far away.
I did. Now I don't have to see them. So
Yeah. Let's go to break, but on the backside of this, we're going to continue this conversation about legalized gambling and whatever else Doug did in his 20s.
my God, I could fill a whole show just on my 21st year. So.
Yeah. You're listening to Middles Open. We'll be right back. It was 16 and
All right, so we're at
Is it-
17 and a half.
like, we just
So we're
went
about
through it.
17 minutes in. So we got about 10 minutes to fill. Or
Yeah.
All right. So if we've
Joe Reiner said the mic blocking you is not big enough.
That guy has nothing to do except watch these shows.
He watches every show.
I wish he'd come on here. Let me do what Joe Reiner did when he did come on the show before. And Joe, you have to talk a little.
He's not watching it.
I don't care. He'll watch it later. All right. So
What else you want to talk
I
about?
want to talk about. I kind of want to get into the college thing.
What, college gambling?
I want to talk about how pissed are you if you had the over under of the Michigan game and you had it at 35 and they scored 1 billion points, or the Texas A&M game. Did you see that went into 7
Yeah,
overtime?
that's insane. Like, so what was the final score on that?
74-72. I didn't
Is
watch
that like
it
the
until the
most?
last minute. That's the highest scoring game ever.
That was insane.
But it was the longest game ever.
Last weekend was a blur. I was out
Yeah.
at the Michigan game. I wasn't at the game, but I was there for the varsity club we do. But my God, people were insane. I don't even think I could talk about what we did, me and Archie.
You told me some of those things, but you should not discuss that on the air.
We had those.
Unless Dave was here. That would be amazing.
Yeah. All right, so you just want to wing it and go for it, or you want to...
Yeah, well, let's come back and I want to ask you about if you saw that Texas A&M game.
Okay. Ready?
Yep. Welcome back to Middles Open. As Doug always reminds me, I can't say welcome back at the beginning, but I can fit it in right here.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, I'm still here with Doug Risher talking about legalized sports gambling, and I had a question for you because
Yes.
I know you're a big NFL Patriots guy.
Yeah, I love the Patriots.
And you love watching college football, but did you see the LSU Texas A&M game?
Now, didn't you tell me? I saw parts of it. I didn't. It was the longest game ever.
I'm
so,
not
I
gonna
mean,
lie, I didn't watch until the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter because I wanted to see the kid from Ohio State, that Burrows kid.
Right.
And I thought this thing's in the bag, and it went on for another like 4 or 5 days. Or
Yeah,
overtimes.
literally. And they scored, like you said, the most points ever.
Yeah, 74-72. It was a freaking nightmare because I kept wanting to go to bed, and I thought I feel like there's history here.
Yeah, that is a lot of points. I mean, how many touchdowns is that? 37.
I'm trying to think what
So
it
you
was.
carry
It was
the
something
carry
like
the
11.
4,
It was something like 11 or 14 touchdowns.
11 plus carry the 5.
But I
Oh,
normally
okay.
would go back and see what the line was on the game because LSU and Texas A&M should have probably been like 36 points.
Right.
Imagine you took the under and you're wrong. You're wrong in the first overtime.
Yeah, that's insane, man. 74 to 72.
That's what would drive me crazy about sports gambling is that I would have been so wrong about that, and it would have frustrated me to be to lose money on that. But I still would have wanted to watch the game.
Okay, well, did you watch the Michigan Buckeye game?
Of course I did.
What was your thoughts on that?
I thought Michigan was about to rally. They just ran out of time.
I thought after halftime they were going to come back, but after the first 4 or 5 plays, I was like, they're not coming back from it.
That was absolute misery.
It was,
it was supposed to be this big buildup of this game, and it was boring. But after the first quarter, it was boring.
I don't remember a lot of it because I was out with the station beforehand for the pre-party. So let's just say debauchery happened.
So you cured your gambling with alcoholism.
Yes. Well, I traded one vice for the other. I mean,
And I'm proud of you.
You
for
know,
that. This
I
is not
think
me
it's-
coming down on you. This is me saying it's
my
good.
kids accept it. You know, it's fine.
They drove
Daddy
you home.
drinks. Daddy drinks. He doesn't gamble though. We can still buy clothing.
What was the? Well, you were down there. You were at Ground Zero, and what was the
Insanity.
The mood?
It was insanity. People were going. So just for example, I'm up on stage with another guy, Archie, from the station, and we're in front of hundreds of people, and we're doing some giveaway. But my winter coat, I should have realized this, is slightly blue, right? I have a Buckeye jersey on, a Buckeye hat, and all this other stuff. This guy screams at me, "Doug Risher, take off your bleeping blue jacket and show some respect," screaming at me like I'm talking on the mic. And I'm like looking down, I'm like, what is he saying?
Dad was in town.
My dad was in town, and he's not a Michigan fan. But I just they were fired up, I will say, and there was things getting thrown around, and it was insane. So and then afterwards, I left at halftime. It was just even more crazy. It's just Ground Zero during a Michigan game. You've been down there.
Oh, plenty of times. But then this also goes back to why I won't bet on sports because when I first got out of college, I used to work for the station that has the games.
Right.
And when you sell, you have to sell the whole season.
Right.
And this is back when Coop was here and had his worst season ever. And people, after they lost the first game, advertisers were calling to cancel.
Yeah.
Right? And you can't let them
No,
out. There's
no.
just, it's a non-cancelable agreement. So then you're dealing with, they lost 6 times that year. So that's 6. Like, I'm the sports therapist, and I'm supposed to tell them, it's going to get better, man. It's
They're
gonna
coming
get better.
back next week. They're coming back next week.
So we come off of that and all that misery, and then you got people that are signed up for basketball. And they make this run to the tournament, and everybody's so happy. And then the ban comes. They get in trouble for using kids that are getting improper benefits. Right. And you got to explain to somebody again, for whatever it is, 12 weeks, you can't cancel, just hang with it, blah, blah, blah. That's why I hate it, because to me, there was money on the line.
Right.
But it was more the
Well, it's kind of like
aggravation.
you were kind of sports gambling then.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I don't do it because of that very
Right.
reason.
It soured your taste for sports gambling.
But it also kind of soured my taste for Ohio State for the longest time because
Or
to
radio.
me, well, just life in general, basically. But when I was doing that, I thought, this is terrible. There's my money's attached to this.
Right.
So every time they lost, I had to hear about it because I could potentially lose thousands
you
of dollars.
walk into work the next day and be like, what do I got to deal with today?
Yeah, that's why I never understood people that could spend money like this or that knew. I remember when I was younger, there was people that they knew the betting line on every game. Every game,
It's
they
a
knew-
beast in itself, man.
Yeah,
Following all that stuff is just, you got to have. I've seen people with notebooks and statistics and all that stuff. I don't have time for that.
ESPN puts them up for you.
Oh, they do. See,
They
I don't know
so-
this because I don't gamble anymore.
I'm just saying, when you watch the bottom line, that
No,
ticker,
let me write that down.
yeah,
What
definitely
website
do.
was
You
that?
don't even have to call those 800 numbers anymore. ESPN provides it.
I just used to call Miss Cleo, and I don't know why, but I lost a lot.
Was she the one that could predict everything was going to happen in your future, and she wore that little dashiki thing?
Yes, and for some reason, she was never accurate with me, and I'd have to pay her
I'm trying to.
$2.99 per minute.
Who was the very famous singer that did? She did one of those psychic hotline things. Dionne Warwick.
Yes.
And you know what happened to Dionne Warwick? She went bankrupt. You think she could have found
Saw
that out
coming,
early on?
right?
Yeah.
Right. No, I love these psychics that you see something in the news, but then they get into some major car accident. Everybody's always like, "Well, they didn't predict
They didn't
that.
see
They
that
didn't see
coming?"
that coming."
I feel like we really strayed off the topic, but I
We
feel
really
good about
did.
it.
But it had all to do with gambling.
I
so
did-
that's
I
another
did-
side note. Did you see the Browns and Bengals game last week?
I saw Hugh Jackson.
And I
have
know
the game
I know
of his
Dave's
life.
not here to brag about it.
That's kind of
Yeah.
why I'm glad he's not
It
here.
was so funny to see him on the sideline, and just it was awkward. He didn't even have like headphones on.
Man, they attacked when that kid picked the ball off and ran over to the sideline and
gave it to
handed it to him. At first, I was like, "Oh, he's paying the tribute," and then I realized he's just like rubbing it in his face.
Disrespected him, but didn't he just tap him on the shoulder and drop the ball?
He handed it to him, and Hugh
Yeah,
tapped on the
on the
shoulder
helmet.
because I don't think he quite understood what was going on, and then all of a sudden was like, "Oh yeah,
yeah,
you're pulling a Risher on me. This doesn't feel good."
Or Dave for not
Yeah.
showing up.
I'm so glad because he wouldn't. You know, if he was here today,
He'd be
he would shut his
gloating
mouth.
like crazy.
Yeah.
So what's their record? Is it 4-6-1? Is that what
I
it
think
is?
so.
I think it is.
And the Bengals are 5-5, I think, or 5-6.
I think so.
I wouldn't.
I
I wouldn't
bet
gamble
on the
any money
Bengals
on that,
right
yeah.
now. I wouldn't bet on the Bengals.
Oh yeah, and Andy Dalton's hurt for the rest of the year, so,
Yeah, so it's,
that's over. You can bet against the Bengals the rest of the year.
It's a sure bet, Mike Morris is saying.
Yeah. I think that's going to wrap it for this week, but I'm so glad that we were able to commiserate without Dave.
I feel a little better. I got to vent a little bit about my past, and
I feel like you were very open today.
I feel like my undoing when I was younger could benefit you guys. So just remember, you can get help.
Or someone could look up to you. And
I didn't
say,
actually
wanna
get
do what
help.
Doug
I just
did.
ran out of money, so I had to stop gambling back then. So there's always that.
And thanks to Jim Thomas for the birthday lottery tickets.
Yes. So he keeps it going every year, and I haven't won yet, but when I do, I have to give him half. So that's what he always says.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week. We will see you next week on Middles Open.